Hi, welcome back to Life in the New Normal podcast. My name is Dena Padawano, and I am your host tonight. Ashley is not with us today. She is out doing other projects, but will be back with us soon. As you can see, we are in holiday mode. We are going to flow into the holiday season with this incredible conversation that we're going to have with Laura. We're going to talk about holidays and conversations at the dinner table, what to discuss, what not to discuss, how to navigate yourself through tricky, sticky situations with humor and levity. I'm holidays on set.
Gorgeous.
So lovely, right?
Gorgeous.
I figured if we were going to talk about the holidays and holiday conversation, and I was feeling a little funky, I'd get into the spirit of things.
It is so beautiful.
Yes. And we were going to talk about conversations, and if you find yourself in the hot seat or in a sticky place, how to have a sense of humor in those conversations.
Right. I think humor is sometimes the only way to go with these. Listen, I do think we have to move the needle in the right direction towards progression, but sometimes it is so awkward when it is at a single table. What are your kind of go-to moves? Have you and has it developed over the years?
Oh, for sure. But my number one go-to move is always sitting at the kids' table. I kid you not. I couldn't resist. That was amazing.
That is the most genius,
right?
You just talk about cupcakes.
Well, and you talk about the color of your makeup and your nail polish and cars and trucks, and there's no politics, there's no depression, there's no problems about bills, there's none of that, right? So first I would always do that, right?
Genius.
Even till this day I do it. And unfortunately, I don't go to anyone's houses, but if I do go to houses, a lot of the people where I'm going doesn't have kids here in Italy, but in general, yes, I do that. My number one rule is no politics, no religion, because some of my family is born again Christians, others are very political, everything. So I like to be a little passive aggressive, which I know isn't always the healthiest, but I always like to say, oh gosh, I'm not educated enough on politics, so I'm the worst person to ask in this scenario. And then they go, oh, okay. And then I'm like, thank you very much.
Bye-bye. That's
Bye-bye.
A good one. I sometimes do the excuse, like, excuse me, like, oh, I'm so sorry. I need to fill up on my wine. Thank you. And like,
exactly.
Sometimes you have to do the move thing. I was like, I need to tell Dena and the gang this story because
please do.
This was kind of the ultimate get out of Thanksgiving card.
Being in a coma?
Yes.
Was that too soon?
I can't go to a lot of places now because I'm so sick. This was in college, and I don't know around in your area, but the night before Thanksgiving is this huge drinking night.
Yeah, for sure.
So we were all back from college and we decided to do scorpion bowls. Now, I have pulled up the recipe for everybody because
I don't know what a scorpion bowl is, so you please school me on this. Educate me.
I pulled up the recipe just so that we can get into the nitty-gritty of what is in a scorpion bowl. It's this giant bowl with liquor in it, and then in the center is another liquor. Okay. Pineapple juice, great. We love. Fresh orange juice, great.
Lemon juice. Vitamin C.
Yeah. Gin, light rum, vodka, dark rum, and 151 proof rum.
Are you psychotic?
And they light it on fire and you drink it.
Okay, it was starting to sound like a Long Island iced tea to me until the 151 and
Until
then
the one,
lighting it on fire.
and you are on your tushy. So I had one of those by myself, which is just bleh. Then we went to someone's party, did keg stands,
Oh
and then
no.
I had a liter of vodka
What?
in
And
a
you're not
whole night.
dead?
No.
How
So
many times did you vomit?
so we go to like party after party. Everyone's like so excited, like, oh, we haven't seen you in a while, blah blah. So obviously I did not drive home. I had a friend drive me home. And I woke up the next day and going, oh my God, like, where am I, And I look and I go, oh, you made it home. You got in your bed. This is amazing. Row. I look and there's lo mein throw up all over my covers, all over the wall.
No.
I projectile vomited lo mein all over my wall. All the lamps are knocked over. And then my mom goes, Laura, did you throw up in the basement? I threw up in the basement. So my mom was like, get up. We have to go to Thanksgiving. I got in the shower. I threw up in the shower. I said, I can't go to Thanksgiving. And so I got a Thanksgiving.
Oh, well, see, my parents would have said, you're getting your ass in the car and that's your punishment for drinking too much.
Right, right, right.
So you had a really nice mommy.
I did.
What a nightmare. I
Lo mein
mean,
on the wall, honey.
oh, damn. That's tough. Like
Tough.
that
Roof
is
stew.
tough. I
That is
always
tough.
used to tell work that I could work to get out of Thanksgiving. So I would be called the
Oh,
holiday ditcher. So my
I didn't know
brother,
that's a
yes,
phrase.
no, well, it's not, but in my household, it was for me. So I was considered the holiday ditcher. And when I would be like, I'm sorry, I have to work. I work in a restaurant. I don't know what you want from me. But for me, it was because it wasn't so much that I grew up in a political household or religion. My issues were around food, right? And then also the mess, cleaning the mess. And then the fear of that Thursday, well, starting to eat that Wednesday night and then it going into New Year's. And
Oh, it was like the
so,
start off point for
yes.
you
And
of
so
like,
for me, it was like, if I could get through Thanksgiving, feeling like I didn't have leftovers in my house and a bunch of stuff, then I could easily get through the holiday thing. As I got older, um, and not I got married when I was 41, so I didn't have a boyfriend most holidays in my adult life. So it was always me having to go to everyone's houses because they had kids and I was single. So I had to go and service everyone, right? Well, we have
yeah.
kids, it's harder for us to leave, it's harder for us, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. So I would go. Then you would be at someone's house and you would hear the comments, get up and do the dishes so my wife doesn't have to, or just really rude kind of family dynamic. And you're only there sometimes to be there for the nieces and nephews or a parent or a sibling. And then you're putting up with other people so that you could make one or two other people happy. And what I say now is have a Friendsgiving, a one-off with a family member. If you only want to be around one family member, try to do it with leftovers after everyone has seen everyone they've seen. Like, don't make someone feel left out and you're not going because of the other person. Just be like, hey, I'd love to see you. Just unfortunately, I'm spread thin on that day. And could we make plans for another day shortly in the future? And then people will go, oh gosh, maybe not. It's too hard. Why can't you just come? And people will try to find any loophole to get in. And this is where this conversation is so important, is that it is so important to not sacrifice yourself for the happiness of others anymore, because really you come away with that emotional weight. So you may not gain weight from eating a lot of food, but you're going to gain a lot of emotional weight.
And you
You
feel
know what I mean?
heavy too. Like I I'm a big advocate for chosen family. If you don't have
Yes.
a if it's a tumultuous family, luckily, like, I get along with my nuclear family and pretty much
Mm-hmm.
my extended family, but, um, I also am so I love friends so much that
Yeah.
I love talking to my friends and having intimate conversations, so I am such a big proponent of, if you don't feel safe at home, maybe give it a year, maybe give it 2 years. Sometimes it can have this hollow feeling of not going back to tradition, but is the tradition making you feel bad? You know what I mean?
For sure. Well,
There's
and
this hu
no, sorry, I cut you off.
there's, like, this huge kind of focus on tradition and, "But we do it this way," and blah, 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 and it's like, but is this way driving you crazy and crossing your boundaries? And I have a friend who's flying cross country to see their family, and we talked about it. What is your day, day by day, what is the max amount of days you can be there? And maybe book your flight then, or a day even before you're going to build up this kind of anger and this kind of emotional hangover for a
Mm-hmm.
week after, and just being absolutely drained emotionally for 2 weeks after, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then
So I
becoming resentful of the people that you're going to see.
Yes. So I think the older I get and talking to friends that have those, really kind of hardship families, is just figuring out what your threshold is. I think that's the biggest
Mm-hmm.
thing, is like, okay, I do want to see my family because I will be either like A, guilty, or B, hollow, or it will hold heavy on my head. Great. We established that section. Next section. Am I going to implode on day 3 or 4? If
Yes.
so, I need to book my flight
Mm-hmm.
immediately. And,
Yes.
I was speaking with another friend who's going home for Thanksgiving, and she had a great idea, is to, instead of taking the train or a plane, renting a car and driving, because then you have an out and
Yes.
you're in control. You can go out for a drive
Yes.
in the middle of the
Totally.
day, and it's your car, you don't have to ask, like, I think it's figuring out
For
those.
sure. And I think people don't realize is that during Thanksgiving or holidays in general, emotions are running high no matter what.
Oof.
No matter what you do, it's weird. Every time around my birthday or the holidays, I cry just out of nowhere. Like today, crying, just putting up the tree. It's just like
Oh,
this emotional thing, but it's also it's happy and it's a little sad. So I'm like, what, and by the way, to anyone watching this, it's not like we're talking bad about one section of the family and not bad about another, but we're just having conversations, right? So in my past, for me, whether or not it was something my family did or didn't do, no matter what, my emotions were high and I didn't know why. Right now that I'm older, what I've learned was that I need to emotionally regulate, right? And so, in order to do that, I thought that that was getting control over everyone. And so I would go
ooh,
in like Miss Boot Camp and I would be like, okay, I worked in a restaurant. I know how to do this. I'd keep myself busy. I'd be like, you set the table, you do this, you do that, da 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 da. And then I would feel so accomplished and so good. But then when anyone had problems and it wasn't even my house, they'd come to me. Or if someone needed something, they'd come to me. I was like, it's not my house. It's not my stuff. But what was happening was I was creating so much more work for myself, just trying to regulate emotions because I didn't know that that's what I was trying to do. So busy work was keeping me out of arguments and conversations, right? And then what I also learned on this year of becoming sober, and I'm going to say California sober in the sense is I'm not sober like that I'm in AA and I'm never drinking
mm,
again. Last year we chose the word of the year was to be sober, and then this year I'll decide. So I've also noticed that in Thanksgiving past, even when I was with a group of friends and not my family, I would always drink to the extent where I would pass out, which still
Mm,
showed you that I was trying to emotionally regulate, but I didn't know how to.
absolutely.
And so now what I'm having to feel is to feel everything I'm feeling with all of my paranoias of eating too much, like all of these things, having certain feelings, having certain emotions, all of these things. And it's interesting. So many people will be like, do you have Thanksgiving in Italy? And I was like, yeah, no, that's an American thing. But you know, it's an interesting thing. I don't miss Thanksgiving because what I do is I go straight into Christmas mode
She's ready.
and
She is ready,
I'm
everybody.
ready and I will have friends over that night, not for like a Thanksgiving meal because I'm vegan and so sure I can make other things, but what I've been learning is without impulse shopping, without drinking too much, without eating too much, and becoming a puddle on the floor, I've learned to now show up for myself, to teach myself that I can get through this and emotionally regulate with breathing, exercise, healthy eating, but you know what I'm saying? All of that stuff. But I will say it doesn't stop no matter how I'm 53 here, no matter how much I've trained myself. And it's all those emotions still come up. They all still come
Yeah.
up. I think it's a kind of like a die hard thing where it's like they don't go away, they just become less painful and then more manageable and then more manageable, right? And so for me, I don't like this is so childish, but it for sure stems from my childhood. When my mom would cook dinner, she did not clean as she cooked. And me and my sister always had to clean the mess. So when I would watch her grate something, peel something, I would be like, please don't use another utensil. I'm going to have to clean that. Please. So
Yes.
there was no enjoyment for me. I was
It was
always
all
so,
labor. It was all
yes,
like it because there was
totally.
like, oh, we can't enjoy the meal because then it will be cleanup and it will be labor. And
Hmm.
why are we even doing this if we're just gonna
Exactly.
fight? And then I have to do all this hard work
You're in
after.
the
And it's
mind of
like
a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old. So anytime someone's like, can I have another fork? No, no, don't give her that fork.
funny. Now, okay, I'm gonna ask you
Ask me.
now, how do you think about like one single use plates? Like, will you do that?
Oh,
Because then you
paper
don't have
plates?
yeah, because then you don't have to
Absolutely.
clean. Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But in my house, my dad did not eat off of paper plates and he was not about to. But Italians are very big on paper plates because not every Italian has the luxury of having a big kitchen or a dishwasher. And
Right.
so they eat off of paper plates for most meals and
Right.
so that it's not all on one person, right? And so it's interesting. So I want to ask you now, what is it that you can help people to avoid with, and I'll answer mine after you because it's chronically ill, right? What is the questions that you do not look forward to the most on the holidays, especially now what I'm saying is after your you know, COVID stuff.
Yes, I think it's unsolicited advice for
Oh, okay.
sure.
Uh-huh.
And I wrote this in my Daily Beast article that came out last week of like, don't say, have you tried lavender oil?
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
say, have you
Okay.
tried
Uh-huh.
vitamin D? Like, I do all of it and I'm still chronically ill. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I think I'm single. Thank God no one asks at, like during the holidays, like, but the thing that I hated was I was in a long distance relationship and they always were like, when are you guys gonna live together? And I'm like, I
Uh-huh.
don't know. It's based on jobs, yada, yada, yada. So it's always those like routine questions that you feel like you just have to bat off all the time.
Yes, and it's like, when are you gonna get married? Well, believe me, if someone were to ask, I probably would be married by now. You know,
Do
when
you,
are
are
you gonna
they,
I wish that I could find someone. This was even before I had been married, right? But now I don't get asked a lot of those questions. If
okay.
I'm with American friends, American friends, and not all, just some in the past, will say stuff like this. So give me a little insight into a day in the life in Dena in Italy. And I'm like, well, every day is Roman holiday, and I am Audrey on my Vespa. Right?
It's so funny because it's like, it truly is that phrase, wherever you go, there you are. Like, you're Dina just in Italy. Like, you're
Right,
not.
right. Well, and one of my friends, you know what? I'm so glad you said that. That saying. My friend, one of my childhood friends, I was so afraid when I first moved here, and I was like, "Well, I don't know, what is it like?" Because she was a model and she had lived in Paris, and she goes, "Well, it's the same as it is over here. It's just there." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Wait, what?" And so it made so much sense to me because I'm like in that logical brain, right? And I was like, oh yeah, they have the market and showers and children and parks. And so anytime I get a little nervous or whatever, I'm like, this is you what you just said, right? So now what happens is I think it's like be careful what you wish for because your dreams might come true. Is I am, as I said before, I sometimes I'll get into some food things. And in Italy on Christmas Eve, it's 7 fishes, and I'm allergic to fish. So I don't have
Wow.
to partake in that marathon eating, and I can bring my own food that's vegan, gluten free, and be like, I brought my food. I don't want to put anyone out. And everyone understands that now. And
Right.
thankfully, no one bothers me. But isn't it interesting that I wound up in a place where they don't have Thanksgiving and I can't eat on Christmas Eve?
Right.
Careful what you put out there because you will manifest in some way, shape, or form what you always say.
Right. I know, isn't it wild?
Uh-huh.
It's so bizarre. I mean, I always said in high school, I was like, you should always be nice. Like, you have so much privilege in being in an able-bodied uh body.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you should think as a disabled person in the sense of like, in terms of thinking about ramps for people and are there elevators and all this stuff. And now I'm
That
in a
too.
wheelchair.
So fucked up.
I'm
I'm so
like, should
sorry, but
I
it's
be
so
like,
fucked up, dude.
I'm like, should I be just, I don't even, it's
Should
so
you
funny,
be the
Tina, because
psychic?
Yeah, because I,
So inappropriate.
it's,
So
I get,
inappropriate.
no, it's not. I get so, and it's like kind of off topic, but it's like the manifesting, like with, in terms of, how the most successful people are the worst
Mm-hmm.
of people? Like they're just,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them, I know this is a harsh word,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of them are evil and like a lot of them step on
Cheap.
toes to get there
Cheap.
and cheap and use poor working class to get ahead. And it just feels very, it just, I don't know, very Machiavellian.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so with like this manifesting of like what you did and like me being ended up being disabled and all this stuff, it's like, should we wish to be that successful? Because I also think there becomes this ugly side to it too.
And you know what? That's so interesting. I've been thinking about that as well in the sense of, and then I was wondering, is that us just going, well, if I can never be all of that, then I'm just going to start saying that I'll just be okay with being less than. And then
Right.
I'm like, no, that wouldn't be it. But I think there's a nice balance in between. I think there is a balance of, because when you're that rich, right? Do you really know what everyone's doing at every moment in every business that you own? Do you really know that someone isn't going to scam you or whatever? Do you okay, fine. So what I'm saying is that there's probably enough balance where you have time to spend with your family and friends, cultivate some healthy friendships and some things, but I don't think people realize when you're rich, how much you have to work to stay rich.
Yeah, it's a
And
continuous
so
thing.
I get that
And there's a lot
younger
of sacrifices.
for sure. And so I get that money's made very quickly now with social media and stuff like that. But let's be realistic, that money is not forever. So unless you're really good at investing, unless you're really good at your finances, unless you're completely debt free, and unless you have this entrepreneurial sort of mind, I think it just really depends. Some people just really need to know that they're going to be somewhere every day, you know, Monday through Friday at a certain time, and they don't want to have to worry about the rest, right? So for you, the nicest people I know are not super wealthy. And I'm not saying super wealthy people are all assholes, but what I am saying is, in my experience, even running marathons or getting donations from people, the non-rich people were the most generous, and the most rich people were the least generous.
It's it's really creepy. I've noticed that too, of like when I ask, I'll be like running, for like the Iranian women or,
Oh yeah.
Ukraine, like
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
ask like, people to send over to specific groups of people for that area, whatever. And I have noticed the people that make like the high six figures donate like
Very little.
25, fifty
Yes,
dollars
yes.
And the people who make five figures are donating
Like 250.
100,
Yeah.
250. It's
Hmm.
really alarming.
So wait, I want to ask you so that we don't get completely off
Yes. Oh
topic
my
in
gosh,
this.
yes.
No, it's okay. Because okay. So I wanted to ask though, in that same thing, what are you gonna do during the holidays when somebody says to you, and I'm not gonna say a party or whatever, because this isn't about party affiliates, it's more about conversations. What if someone says to you, well, Putin is only trying to help the situation in Europe, and he's only trying to help, and and I'm sorry, my train of thought. Give me the country name.
Ukraine?
And yeah, there you go. My train of thought. And Ukraine is sending out propaganda, and they just want you to believe it. Someone, I kid you not, I
Yeah.
swear to God, Bible said this to me, who lives in Europe. They said that Putin was trying to clear out the Nazis, and that he was trying to protect Europe,
Okie
and that
dokie.
he is saving all of us. Now, that is what they were led to believe, what was shown to them in their part of the world, in their country. And so I took that into consideration, and I was like, oh gosh, is that what you think? And I said, are you open to me sending you sort of anything different about that? And they never responded. And so therefore I didn't. Now, I'm asking you, if you're in a conversation, and let's say
Mhm.
it's something you're really passionate about, and let's say it's something that is so obvious to you that is ridiculous. What do you do, especially when someone's drunk, they're talking loud, and all the attention is now on you?
Um, I heard this recently and I'm going to try it.
Tell me.
Is, oh, you're talking to the wrong person about this.
Why? Why are you the wrong person?
Because I don't believe in that.
Okay. So wrong. See, but you can't say because I don't believe in that, because then that leaves them a loophole to educate you
Or
in that.
or you can say, oh, the wrong person to say that to, or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, because then you could say, I'm very passionate about female rights.
Yeah,
Oh, that would shut someone up real quick. Or
real quick.
you know what? I would say it if I could. I'm gonna say this the next time someone brings up something about Roe v. Wade or whatever. I'm gonna say, gosh. Oh wait, say something to me and then I'll say it.
I'm pro-life because I think killing babies is murder.
Oh, wow. You're telling this to the wrong person.
Exactly.
And then you're supposed to say, why?
Why?
Because I'm very passionate about my vagina. Would you like to start the discussion? No or yes? Would that work?
Also, I think so, and I heard a really good one with the Roe v. Wade
Uh-huh.
is if someone goes into it, you say 1 in 4 women in the US have gotten an abortion. If you don't know anyone that hasn't gotten one, then you're not a safe space for people to tell you things.
Ooh, such a snowflake.
I would say
But do you
you're
see how it, do you see,
right.
I'm not meaning to get you, but what I'm saying is people live for that. They
Mm-hmm.
live for those moments to catch you with your
Ah,
pants down. So it's always just to be super funny, super obnoxious, and just with a zinger. Get 'em.
right.
Where are you going this holiday, this Thanksgiving?
For me personally, we're just doing nuclear family because of
Oh,
COVID.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's just you, your parents,
Yeah, and sister and then her babies and her
and then
husband, so
who
it's
cooks?
easy peasy. My dad, he's Greek. He's a cookaholic. He
Shut
loves the
the
food.
front door. But
Yes.
does he make a kuklamo a Thanksgiving, or does he make a traditional American Thanksgiving?
Uh, Both. Like he'll do spanakopita and all of that. But
Tiropita.
then yeah, triopita, and he'll
Mm-hmm.
do those, but then like the turkey, the ham, all of that.
Keftedes. I used to work in Greek nightclubs, so
You
I
did?
yes, that's it, girl. And that is for another episode.
Oh.
Right. But I also this holiday stuff, I'm having a bunch of children Saturday to my house to get like the Christmas spirit going. And
Oh,
I bought a bunch of white paper bags to make like puppets, like the little
that
paper
is
bag
so
puppets and
sweet.
cute. And then I just asked all the moms to pitch in $5 for the crafts. And so I have 7 kids coming, and those moms, you know what, really what I've learned is that you all talk to each other and I just get access to your kids. So let Auntie Dena take the access to the children. All you all gossip because that's not what I do. And I don't
No,
have mom gossip. Right. And
no.
so they don't mind because in Italy, we don't put up the trees until December 8th. And so it's like the Immaculate Conception and all of the things. And so for me, that's a little late. So
Yeah,
usually,
Mama wants the lights. Mama
well,
wants the joy. Thank you so
and
much.
there have been times that I, with my sweet little butt, when I was in California, I would always get live trees, and I would get it the second a tree lot would open, which would mean that the tree was generally dead by December
Bye,
9th.
Festus.
And it was not uncommon to find my tree on the street in the middle of December on the curb
Uh,
for the trash man to pick
he's like, did they celebrate on Thanksgiving?
But girl, like I do whatever I have to do. Now that in Europe there's fake trees, I'm just like, I've got
Oh,
a red one in there, the white one here, I put a green one in there. I'm so excited because it doesn't matter. But for me, I also realized that that is an emotional hack. Like, it's like if you start feeling the funky blues of the holidays coming, do whatever's going to make you happy, do whatever's gonna, so the lights are the
the
dopamine, right?
lights.
And it's
Yes.
the lights, it's the vibe, it's the
Decorating.
kids' eyes, it's the all of it. It's so much fun. Even when I'm alone, it still is lovely and fun. And so even with my ex, he hated Christmas. And
Oh,
so it was always just,
Grinch.
I know, and he proudly wore that label. But it was not fun being with somebody who didn't enjoy the
No,
holidays.
I dated someone when it wasn't even, you know, November 15th when like the stores do it and it's like, oh wow, this is kind of early, whatever. It was going to Christmas and I was like, let's listen to Christmas tunes. Didn't want to. In
No.
the car, they were like, this is stupid. I was like,
No.
What?
See, yeah, no. I come from
Like
a family of where my nieces, they will work out to Christmas music in the summer. That's how much
that
we love
is
Christmas.
iconic. That
Yeah.
is
So
iconic.
I want to ask you too, though, have you ever had a partner come home with you that it was awkward tensions with your family with conversation? Because my family thinks it's funny to pick on whoever I was dating. So for me, hence again, why I was the holiday ditcher, it was not fun for me to go home because
No, it's
it's not funny
exhausting.
when you're the one, right? You're just be like, stop it. Oh my God. Blah, blah, blah. And then you have to warn everyone about everyone. And I'm sure a lot of people can identify with that. And so for me, there have been times where I've had to warn people about my, and I would say this to people. I'd be like, I just want to let you know, my dad will probably say something to the effect of, you're not a bitch. Dena always says you're a bitch. And they would be like, what? No, he's not going to do that. And what do you think the first thing is my dad says? You're not a
Right.
bitch. See? Or my dad loves this one. You're not fat. Dena said you were fat. And
Yikes
then
on bikes.
one time one of my friends was like, what? Oh my God, no, she didn't. And she had just told me she was having a hard time with her weight. And it's just
Oh,
like, Dad, as much as you think that that's funny, it's not funny.
not
But I was
funny.
a
Yeah.
teenager, right? He
Oh, you
didn't
have
do
no
that
idea.
to
You have no
adults.
idea.
Totally. He didn't do that to adults. He did that with kids. And that's that sick, twisted humor, which I love, but I love when it's me and I don't have to protect somebody else.
Beyond. You know what? I don't think I've brought anyone home since the 2016 election,
Oh,
because
wow.
I feel like the 2016 election was this huge opener of people. People talked about politics, but now it's like so divided and so wild.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I've brought anyone since that, which luckily all of us are anti-Trump,
Mm-hmm.
but it would be interesting to see that scenario now that people are more vocal about it,
Yeah.
of where it would land. I don't know.
Well, and think about this though. Okay. So let's just paint the picture. Political conversations and religious conversations are a hot button no matter what, if you're in the middle of this
Yeah.
political climate or what. Then let's add the high emotions that are running during holidays. Okay. Then let's add that maybe people are stressed about money or whatever. Then let's add alcohol into the mix, right? So that's only going to exacerbate whatever emotions someone's already feeling and doing. Right. So then what the reason why we're having this conversation is to talk to people of like, pick your poison. If you want to drink, but then you're afraid you're going to lose it from your family, choose to drink towards the end of the night when you're closer to leaving. If
Yes.
you want to stay away from food and whatever, maybe bring some of your own or a big alternative dish of like sweet potato pie with gluten-free, whatever. Like always bring something that, or also I used to call myself the Mary Poppins, Italian Mary Poppins, but I
Mhm.
like to think of my bag as the Mary Poppins bag. And so always I would stuff it with things before I would go, and then I would leave it by the side of the wall, and then the kids would find stuff. So then if things got a little sticky or hairy, I'd be like, oh my God, did the kids show you what they got from my bag? And
Kids
so
are
you,
such good
right,
distraction.
so you just find these little moments of your ways out. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because
I
in my family, people wouldn't stop at that. They were like, why can't you have this conversation? Why aren't you adult enough? Why can't you do it? And you don't want to say, because I don't want to effing talk about it. And
truly,
it's not even
truly.
to you. I just don't want to talk about it. I'm up to hear about, and that's also with emotional things, meaning a breakup, a divorce, a house, the mortgage, not having a lot of money. Well, and then people go, well, what are you going to do for Christmas this year? I mean, you shouldn't be buying the kids these bikes if you really don't know what your job situation is going to be. Or like, what do you do with everyone's stuff coming at you
I do. Yeah,
at the holiday table?
this has been something over the years that I didn't realize you could do, is you don't have to be honest. You can be a politician.
Oh, okay,
Be a
you could be
politician.
politically correct.
You can have the most politician answer of like, at the moment, like, just remove your emotions almost,
Yes.
like, remove what you actually are thinking, and just I always say wasp it up is like, just have no emotions, like, be waspy,
Yeah,
and it's like, especially when you know that they're going to give annoying advice, they're going to
for
take this
sure.
information and gossip about don't the gossipy is like,
Mhm.
so sometimes you just have to turn into a politician and just be
Totally.
like, "You know what? Over the Christmas, I'm gonna do XYZ." You might not even do it, but it's like, you don't want your name buzzing in people's mouths.
I
So it's
agree.
like, just give them the most basic information that doesn't mean shit,
Mhm.
and move on. It's like, I think because we were talking about how everything's like high emotional and there's
Mhm.
so many triggers for people. I mean, truly,
Mhm.
there's booze, food, then family,
Social media,
social media,
people
like
on
there's
their phones all the time, people
yeah,
texting each other in the same room instead of having conversations, people talking to each other about someone else in the room. Like, I don't want to partake in any
right,
of that. That
right.
hence why it's not even a safe bet with the kids. It's actually more enjoyable to me
It's
to spend
fun.
time, yes, to spend time with the kids, because for me also social media, I haven't been around. And when I say like I haven't been around, listen, I live in Italy, so I'm not with my friends, my family, my culture, my stuff. So generally I was with my ex and his family, but we didn't have a bunch of outsiders in there. And now this year I still go to my ex and his family for the dogs because I don't have people here. So for me, I can also imagine social media would become a thing where people get frustrated or make comments about what people have posted about them in the past if it wasn't very nice
Ooh.
or whatever, right? So I can only imagine if someone posted something or something like people will say stuff to me about posts I've done in the past, and I've gotten into conversations with a friend, and a friend had said something to me. He had said something to the effect of, well, I saw you had posted something very political. And I was like, me? Like, I think you're wrong person. And they said, no, you posted such and such. And I said, oh yeah, that I posted. Oh, but I'm your friend. You don't care. And I said, no, I don't care. It's my social media and you're my friend in real life. And if you're my friend in real life, you know how I believe and how I feel about you and vice versa. But yeah, no, I can't be caring what every single person thinks on my social
No,
media
no.
and then not go according. So I guess what I'm saying is, I would get pissed if someone posted back in the day an unflattering picture. I can't imagine what goes through people's if someone posted someone's kid or someone posted about someone's kid or someone posted about someone's spouse or someone posted about in not a positive way. How do you diffuse those conversations? Do you handle it ahead of time, or do you go through all stressed hoping someone doesn't bring it up?
It depends. I think it's really, really depends on the individual and case by case,
I
because
agree.
if you feel like a person's going to be receptive, do it before.
For sure.
Clear the elephant out
Uh-huh.
of the way before. If it's
Mm-hmm.
someone, and also this is another thing that the older I get, the more I realize, kind of breaking away from the people pleaser thing
Uh-huh.
of like, do I care about this person's opinion? If it's no, then why am I going to have a conversation where they aren't going to see my side, they're going to stick to their side, and it's going to be this like moot point for no reason? I think those, it's like, let it go. And if
Agree to disagree.
yeah,
So
and
it's
like,
like, hey, I love you. I just don't think right now is the right place for this conversation. Or you could say something to the effect of not just you, everyone. or something to the effect of, I have now made it a rule that I no longer talk about,
Yes.
politics, whatever, at holidays, because in the past it hasn't gone over very well.
Yep.
And then they might be
Hard
like,
stop.
oh, did you get your feelings hurt? And then you could be like, no, actually, they got theirs hurt. Whoops.
Work. Yes. Yes.
I got some zingers today.
Zingers, baby.
Right?
I think truly it's one of those, like, how do I have it a full stop moment of like,
Mhm.
no, there isn't going to be, like, this is what it is, and there's not going to be a continuation of it. Also depends on the person, you know what I mean? If you care about this person's opinion and you want conflict resolution, that's one thing. Like,
Totally.
the other day I had a friend who said, "Hey, I think I handled this incorrectly." And I said, "Actually, yeah, I was a little disappointed." And I wouldn't even say I was disappointed if I didn't care. And I know you're going to be
Oh, yeah.
receptive. And we literally, it was a 2-second conversation, the easiest thing, and it was done with.
See,
And
and that's important, because if the other person hopefully will feel as loving and as much love for you as you for them, they would want the same. Some
yeah.
people, though, people have to realize, are out to look for a fight. Some
Oof.
people will come looking for the old you at holidays, because they will know in the past you guys have gotten into it, or you've sparred verbally, whatever it may be, and they will come looking for the old you. And when they do, remember that person does not exist anymore. So you don't have to answer for that person anymore. And you could really come out and say, hey, listen, I've done so much growing and so much work on myself, and that is just not who I am anymore. And then be like, would you like to talk about RuPaul's Drag Race? Or
Yes,
just
baby.
something really funny. And like, I just think it's so important, because I think to what your point is, if you don't feel like having a conversation, in my generation, we were always just taught, be polite, suck it up,
Yeah.
have the conversation. We're also not saying don't be rude and don't have a conversation. We're just saying don't get into detail with people if you don't value their opinion, and there's somebody where it's not even going to matter in 3 days from now whether or not you have a disagreement or not. So
Yeah.
every individual person has to pick for themselves. How do you feel, other than the camera, how do you feel about cell phones at the table during holidays?
Hate it.
Yeah, sucks, right?
Hate it. I only like it I also don't like it during regular meals with
Yeah.
one-on-one. Like, I'm so want to make a connection with someone. And I
Uh-huh.
actually, if I am meeting a new friend or a date or whatever, and they don't put their phone away or they don't turn it so that you can't see the screen,
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, I know who that person is. I think it's an indicator. I think it's like, okay, you're a
totally.
little disassociative, you're a little self-obsessed because you don't want to have an A to B conversation. You want to just, if something isn't satiating you enough, you have to go on your
Well, it's
phone.
because it's an addiction, right?
It's an
So it's
addiction.
literally like, it's not even that they are just obsessed, they're addicted. So like, what if the idea would be, this holiday season, people, when everyone got at the door, they could pull straws, or they could nominate one person to take the photos for the
Take the
evening.
photos. I
And
love
then
it.
maybe that person could actually then do it for 1 hour, and then another person would do it for an hour or whatever, so that people don't feel like, well, I want to take pictures and I want it to be my holiday and don't tell me what to do with my phone. No, but if you want to connect, these are options.
These are
Right? Because
options.
I think it's so important, because pictures are lovely. All of that is lovely. We all want to learn a dance for TikTok. We all want to do something fun, but it doesn't have to be consumed by our phones and our devices and our stuff and do you know what I mean? So I just think with sports, and then with high emotions, then with politics, with religions, with all this, what are the safe conversations?
I think schools and achievements are a good one. Um,
School as an achievement?
no, and achievements
Oh, oh,
someone
school
like,
and achievements.
yeah, like,
Okay, got
oh,
it.
are you going back to school? What are you learning? Like,
Got it.
kind of like topics that way, because at least everyone's talking about learning and it's not just about the weather, because I would blow my
But
brains out.
isn't that hard? Like, I didn't go to college, so I don't know, but doesn't that suck if you're the kid that's at school and everyone's like, tell us what you're learning?
They can suck it up. No, I'm
Okay,
kidding.
no, I'm just saying, I
I
don't
would
know,
say,
like,
it's like you want just like things that are interesting, because like
mhm,
a kid who's like in school, it's like, oh my gosh, what are you learning? What are you passionate about? Like, I think passions are really interesting because people are
amazing.
like getting so involved, especially now because of like COVID. People have had kind of cool new hobbies. So it's like,
Uh-huh.
what are your passions? What are your successes? Like, keep it positive mostly. If someone wants to bring up a breakup, then that's on their term and I'm happy to listen.
Yeah.
But for a whole table, it's like, oh, what are you learning? Oh, any fun travel? Like, I
It
think it's
could
just
be fun also to find topics. Sorry, I cut you right off in the middle of a sentence. I'm working on that. Go on, sorry.
no, that's okay. I feel like that's like a good practice of like
Yeah, yeah.
seeing it,
Uh-huh.
like
It's a
um
good practice. No, I feel like what if there was a jar and then everyone who came in the door put two conversation topics on. And then someone of course would approve the topics when we went through, and then you would pass the jar around the table and then someone would pull it out and then the conversation topic would start there.
yep, I love it.
Right? I mean, of course, people are going to talk and do what they want. I'm just talking if we're going to go against the grain and do something different than we haven't normally done. It's always fun while you're eating instead of playing a game and stuff, because that's going to be after dinner and before dinner. But at the conversation at the dinner table, and everyone's forced just to sit, that's when the intense conversation
Yeah.
starts.
Without the distractions, without the phones, without
Mm-hmm.
the sports, without the bop bop bop. And
Totally.
it's the sitting and it's the meditation of it. And it's like, okay, now what's going? What are people thinking? Like all of that stuff. And that's where it gets
And then it's the awkward silence.
dicey.
Yes, the awkward silence. And then someone will say something dumb just to get rid of the stress of the awkward silence.
Yeah. Oh, they're like, so
That's
how
me.
about them,
Mm-hmm.
January 6th invaders? And
Oh.
you're like, no.
Or just anything. It just could be like, like honestly, like they'll talk about somebody who had an affair or something. You're like, no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 we're good. Like we are all good. And I think that's another reason, actually, I just learned that about myself. I do not enjoy sitting around a table talking about a bunch of people who aren't there. And
Oh,
so, therefore, I think that's why I avoid big settings, because I think people might be a little uncomfortable to talk about themselves. So then everyone will bring up an outside person that may not be there and talk about their marriage, their kids, their divorce, those other people who can't defend themselves.
I also think it's a common thing for a group of friends or a family or a couple to it's too hard to talk about their own
Of
internal
course.
issues. So then they're like, let's talk about someone else's issues. Let's talk about a couple's issues. Like, let's bond over the common enemy versus like, let's deal with our
Exactly.
own shit. You know
Let's
what I
talk
mean?
about the holiday ditcher. And
Yeah,
then they all talk
the
about me. And then it's like, ooh, see, I don't even have to be there and on
holiday
topic of
ditcher.
conversation.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's like, for me, the most interesting thing in general is learning. So it's like, okay, what have you learned this year? Like, any fun successes, any moves, any, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it's
like
like,
what have you learned from TikTok?
yes,
Literally, like I have
literally
learned,
everything.
like learn talk, but like I just think these are funny, fun conversations that totally could literally alleviate a lot of the stress at the dinner table when people are
Yes.
coming around for holidays. Because I don't even know, as like we're winding up, I haven't been in a work like situation. Well, in my whole career, I've never had a company where I worked at and went to a holiday party. But do people right
Oh,
now after COVID, do they still do holiday parties?
it differs. It differs so
Okay.
much because then sometimes they even do holiday parties like in January or February when like all the
Ah,
colds have died down or like
okay.
the spaces free up and stuff like that. Like, it's so varied now than what it
Mhm.
was before COVID, um, that it really depends. Some of them are, like, virtual
Yeah.
happy hours, like, it's so different now.
Is so different, but don't you think holidays will be so much funner when we all learn how to respond to difficult questions and hard conversations and all of that. And then the other people, when we say we can't or we're unable to talk about that, they would very kindly respond and go, I get it.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to bait us into an argument, a conversation, a frustration. Because listen, I'm there for the holiday. I am not there to convert you as a Christian, in politics, whatever it may be. I am just sharing my interpretation of however I experience things, right? And so that's why I think until you learn enough about yourself and learn how to talk and learn how to do, holidays aren't going to be fun because you're always going to have your throat in your chest, not knowing what to do and how to deal with people. But once you start learning and then you start putting that into practice, holidays become a breeze because it's like, oh yeah, no, I don't talk about that anyway, back to the kids,
That's just
right?
it. It's like it's my biggest advice is, what are your limits?
Mm-hmm.
Time, just time-wise, what are your limits? Like, even if you're so triggered from one day, go, how many hours can I be here before I want to explode? Is it 3? Is it 2? Is it 1?
Mm-hmm.
You put a timer on your phone, you
Mm-hmm.
check in with yourself. If you go, you know what, I feel okay, keep going, put the timer
Yes.
on. And then at that kind of glimpse of, all right, I think I'm turning, go, oh, you know what? I have to go. Like, thank you so much. I need to let the dog out or whatever it is.
Exactly.
And then you go. So I think it's like limits just within time. Then it's
Yes.
limits within conversation of boundaries. What are your boundaries? What are you willing to talk about per person? Because people are
For
totally
sure.
different. And then
Uh-huh.
in a group, it's asking, what have you learned this year? What are your new hobbies? And keep it interesting, because that stuff is interesting and dynamic, but
Yeah.
it's not political. And I think those are my 3 big advice.
And I think those are amazing. And I wanted to add to that is I was thinking about this today. I was thinking about what if you said to yourself, um, do I care enough about this relationship, that politician, that whatever, that I want to expend all of this energy that I have trying to literally plead my case
Yeah.
about something that literally is not going to affect me for that dinner other than make me sad or frustrated, right? And so then it will help you sort of dial it back, because
Mhm.
I'm always so curious when people are trying to get me to be Christian or this, because I used to be Christian and all of that, but
Ooh, yeah.
it's like this in this sense. It's like, but I didn't hear you start with, do you believe in God? What religion are you? Because I can find it a little disrespectful to my faith that I practice now, that you're assuming I'm not happy with my religion and my faith where I am now. And then therefore
Yeah.
you think yours is better. And then you need, and the same could go for politics, and the same could go with life advice, and the same could go. So really, when we're there with each other, do I need to be okay with the way you behave, or do you need to be okay with the way I behave? And
That
I think that is the big question.
that is the big question, because I do think we can't remain silent in terms of, like, these really big issues like abortion, like Black Lives
Mm-hmm.
Matter, like trans rights, all of these things. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if we stay silent, then nothing gets done. So there is that constant debate.
Mm-hmm.
But with very specific people, if there is, they're sitting there with their shotgun, eating raw meat, saying Trump, and have like a MAGA hat. It's like, I don't think I can go there during a holiday where it's going to ruin everyone and they're not going to change
Yes.
their mind. If there's someone who maybe says like, "Oh, I'm fiscally Republican, socially liberal." Okay, we can have a conversation about moving more progressive because XYZ. So I think it's honestly seeing where your energy can go that can make the biggest difference at that
And I also
time.
think it's also how important is that person to you?
Yeah.
Because if it's somebody you really love and respect, you're going to want to have not a meaningful conversation about those two things, but you're going to want to have a meaningful letdown of like, I'm
Mm,
sorry, like this is not what I want to talk to you about on this holiday, or can we pick another day and then hopefully they forget it or whatever, you know what I mean? So I wanted to say thank you again for
thank you so
coming up and being so excited about my
You're so and you
tree.
have glitter body
How do
glitter
you
on, like,
know? How
oh,
can
I
you
can
see
see it,
that?
honey.
Oh,
I am checking it
Corinne,
and
thank you.
clocking it and loving it.
Oh, yes, Corinne, I got it for you, girl. Gobble, gobble, gobble with my wobble, wobble, wobble.
Hey, yeah, baby. Turn that into a
Yes,
song.
Corinne.